He's not there.
There it is.
Good evening, everyone. I will reopen the meeting for Tuesday, July 1st. We opened in open session at 6 and immediately went into executive session. So I'm reopening, and we are starting off with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. I know announcements, and Stuart has, sorry, that's my cord. Stuart has some announcements in his town manager report. Comments and concerns of anyone? We're going to keep it limited. We have a little bit of a heavy agenda, but comments and concerns, Cynthia?
I'll try to go quickly. I wrote something so I can go quickly. Some comments and concerns concerning the open meeting complaints that I filed. Many mistakes were made on May 6th regarding the board's vote to support Bay State's healthcare proposal, missing topics from the agenda. Bay State proposal did not require talk about litigation, and neither did the $7.5 million Gilbert Trust Fund. The discussion appears to have been biased. Board members were misinformed and uninformed. A seriously incomplete proposal was presented for review. An illegal vote was taken with the intent of undermining efforts made by the residents to protect and manage the Mary Lane Trust Funds in a way that would endure another 100 years. More mistakes were made on June 17th. Many inaccuracies were stated in the KP Law response. It ignored the fact that no topics were listed on the agenda. The response did not mention anything about voting to support Bay State having control over the trust funds and a letter being sent to Bank of America. It also mixes two separate independent topics represented by two separate attorneys into one long explanation in a way that tried to justify going into executive session. This explanation twisted the facts. The response also stated the town manager then mentioned that vote to the public in open session on May 20th. Well, that's disingenuous statement that gives an appearance of wrongdoing. A few cryptic comments were made that certainly did not explain what really happened, and it did not talk about the trust funds. There are many concerns with the way Attorney Davidson has represented the town. First of all, it must be stated that she did not represent the residents. She represented the town as directed by our town manager. Many times, many times, we asked for something written update, something from her, and we kept on getting here in this venue. We kept on asking for it, and we were promised that we would get something. We never got anything. Attorney Pat Davidson was hired to represent the town concerning the Lewis Gilbert Trust. She had nothing to do with possible litigation concerning property easements. That was KP Law's area of expertise. The letter sent to Bank of America stating that our select board supports Bay State being the new beneficiary should be retracted as soon as possible. Attorney Davidson never contacted the Community Foundation of Western Mass, which is directed from our board. Our board never asked to talk with the Community Foundation. If she had, she would have learned that Bank of America and the foundation had been working on a way to accommodate Bay State's healthcare plan, give them some type of a 3 or 5 year commitment. And so why she didn't set up a meeting between the board and the Community Foundation, I don't know. When our board discusses this topic, I hope that you will consider the May 6th discussion did not include critical information needed for making a decision that affects our health. The residents should be the ones making this important decision. Bay State should be required to provide much more detail in their proposal. Lots of conflicting information. Is it going to be an urgent care, a doctor's office, a convenient care? Are they going to have lab, x-ray machines? What will the hours be? Why do they plan on losing $600,000 a year? And what is the 3 or 5 year plan? The Community Foundation is the best choice to become the new beneficiary of the funds. This is our opportunity to become independent from any one healthcare provider. Healthcare providers come and go, and this proposal, nothing ever said about it being named Mary Lane, because that is the very first condition in the will, that it had to be called Mary Lane. So that's all I have to say.
Anyone else under comments or concerns? Mr. Thaman?
First of all, I'm not trying to bring Mary Lane Hospital back. But I am concerned about the trust funds. the $17.5 million that was left to the hospital is now in Springfield. What's going on with the money? The money was supposed to be for WARE, for the hospital, for the people of WARE, the surrounding towns in Hardwick. I've looked at the names on some of the trust documents. There were probably 20 families that gave money. That's one side of it. And then there's the Mary Lane side of it. What's happening, I understand there was an audit. What's the results of the audit? Let's see what's going on. Why all of a sudden is Bay State willing to spend $600,000 a year, lose that to come back to WARE? I think it has something to do with the audit. And I beg you not to move ahead until we see the audit results.
Anyone else under comments and concerns? Lady from Tractor Supply, why don't you come up front so we can all see you? Just if you would introduce yourself.
Hello, my name's Gabri. I'm the store manager for the WARE location, Tractor Supply. First, I wanted to say thank you for inviting me today, having me come into WARE, having Tractor Supply come into WARE. It's super exciting. I know there's been some talk on the Facebook pages about the opening dates and how everything's been pushed, so I personally apologize for that. It hasn't been in our control, unfortunately. There have been some construction delays. However, I do have good news, which is we've got an opening date. Grand open is supposed to happen on August 2nd, so that's super exciting. We may be able to open as soon as next week for a soft open, so hopefully we can get a little bit better of an update for that, but grand open should be August 2nd for sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else under comments and concerns? Yes?
My name is Ann Bigda, and I'm here tonight to represent the many like me who at best piecemeal our involvement in our town's government. For very legitimate reasons, we are not able to attend meetings or serve as elected or appointed officials as you do in dedicated service. We trust you to represent us in making decisions for the town, and though you may not see us much, we are paying attention to what you do via Zoom, the WARE River News, the town's website, and WARE TV. Thank you, Stan Chief. We want to make it clear that the option to have broad and community-driven governance over trust funds associated with Mary Lane Hospital, potentially through the Community Foundation of Western Mass, is preferred over sole management of those funds for a lesser aspect of health care that Bay State is now offering to the town. The former is a more suitable choice over time. It is an appropriate means to honor the benevolent intent of all those who have provided land and money to keep WARE healthy, figuratively and literally. It is our community taking charge for our friends and neighbors. This option was on the verge of finally moving us beyond talking about MLH and into acting for health care in WARE and environs. And then this board declared support for the Bay State option. Please rescind the letter you provided supporting Bay State managing the trust funds and consider all aspects of the suggested Friends of Mary Lane Hospital option. Residents want the flexibility, transparency, sustainability, and new and fresh start that it would provide. Thank you all for hearing this and for considering it in your decisions going forward.
Thank you. Anyone else? If not,
I have one concern.
Stephen?
My concern is, I was wondering if the board would be willing to rescind their vote. My feeling as a resident of the town of WARE and formerly living in Gilbertville, that it should not be up to 5 people to decide where the funds go when there's over 10,000 residents in WARE and then over 4,000 residents in Gilbertville and Hardwick. I would wish that it would go to a town election. Let the residents, which the board also lives in town, put it to a town annual meeting. Let the residents debate on where the funds should go and allow the residents, as the entire town, vote where the funds should go. And I think it's almost a dishonest where 5 people, actually 4 people now, decided where the funds go, not the residents of Ware, Hardwick, and Gilbert. It should be up to the entire community, not one board. That's all I gotta say.
Thank you. Kathy?
First off, I want to thank everybody that spoke, and for anyone who doesn't know, these signs were made because we're talking about this trust fund. That is one of the things we're so concerned about in the town. I want to echo what everyone said, and the only thing, a couple things I wanted to add to is, I hope the board, I know we had Jack and Nancy at the meeting that actually Cindy and I put on WARE TV. Hopefully people get a chance to watch it. I know Stan has it up and will be replaying it. But we tried to put it in basic terms, things that had happened over the past few months, since fall, when a lot of people put a lot of effort in, and we were looking at Bank of America, who is the current trustee holding the funds for the Ware Hardwick area. And we basically said that Bank of America, the only ones that they can, just because of, I think, the scope and the size of themselves, can only direct it to one entity. It was going to one entity, which was Bay State. The groups that were formed from Friends of Mary Lane, when we had the hospital committee review working, there was other people looking at things. 2 foundations came to WARE, the Worcester Foundation and the Western Mass Community Foundation came. They explained what they were able to do for our town. They were down the senior center. We reviewed all this again. People got the information, and then we actually asked, as a group, asked Peter Thamel, and I want to thank him, as an unbiased financial planner, to look at both of those foundations and see which one would fit the best use of that trust for the residents of Ware and Hardwick. And it came back that the community group of Western Mass, which was the most flexible, could work with Bay State, could work with any healthcare entity, work with the residents' concerns and needs, and I won't go into everything, watch the show, but that was the group that everybody was like, yeah, even the hospital committee said yes, there was a side track, everything was going, we were down that last path, we were in the 11th hour. And hopefully by now, I said before, I hope you saw that letter that was generated from Bank of America saying how they were working with the foundation, moving in that way, that was fine, it was gonna be a good process. The next step was just going to the courts to get their final, approval. But what the AG wants, what everybody wants, is kind of like you're going through a divorce. You just want it to be what people are happy with. And that's what people were happy with. We were going there. Like I said, it was the 11th hour. Then all of a sudden, I still don't clearly understand how you guys got involved. Really, I don't. All of a sudden, you were asked to change that process and give the approval that Bank of America is just going to give the money to Bay State. That did a 180 where we had been working for months of hard work to get something that everybody felt comfortable with. Bay State could apply for the funds, any other entity that's coming down the road could apply, they could work it together, they were gonna work it all out. And then you guys got pulled in, and I feel bad, honestly, I think you were hoodwinked, actually, to do and say something that you might not have realized or forgot that we were already in that path, we were at the 11th hour. And you see everybody coming out, and I appreciate this woman who said, there are so many people out there that are concerned. So many people who are right on board and going, what happened? What's our Board of Selectmen doing? Very upset. They can't always come to your meetings. I mean, some of us come. A lot of people watch, they hear, they talk. I certainly hope that the board has now, over these past couple of weeks, taken that information that you had and maybe reviewed it again, the letter with the fireworks, heard from people here, hear from Mr. Thamel. That group would give the Western Mass Community Foundation, will give the town of Ware, Hardwick, the most transparency, the most flexibility to be able to do what we need, not just now, but in years to come. So I hope you talk about it when it comes up to your agenda item, do some more discussion, rethink how people voted, and really hear the people that are here, really concerned and hoping that you'll work with us to do what's best for the town. Thank you.
And I just want to read a
One last
blurb,
thing. Yeah.
the blurb. This is from Bank of America. really a matter to be worked out among the communities the funds are intended to benefit. Accordingly, the plan is for the trust funds to be turned over to Community Foundation of Western Mass to manage and to determine when and whom distributions should be made. So that was a decision that Bank of America did make on April 6th. And I've been working on this for well over a year now.
Okay, thank you. Howard? Dr. Trace?
So I just want to say one thing. We've all seen all the signs around town saying, bring healthcare back to WARE. And for the last 4 years, that has been what we've been trying to do, is bring healthcare back to WARE. This is an opportunity to bring healthcare back to WARE. We have a real plan. It has a timeline. It has funding. It is convenient care, which by their definition has some urgent care components to it. They're going to make it even more solidified as they go for their Department of Health applications, so we'll all be able to see it. I've also asked them to maybe have some advisory capacity from the people of WARE. They can't do this without the trust fund money. If they go to the community foundation, if a community foundation has the money, they have to ask them and reapply every year, or if they get a 3-year grant, or a 4-year grant, or a 5-year grant. That's not a business plan. If you're putting out $500,000 to renovate and build the convenient care and recruit doctors, you can't go year to year for a healthcare entity. So this $300,000 that the Gilbert Trust comes out, it would be nice for wound care, for rehab, or for this, but to get an entity, the largest entity in Western Massachusetts, to come here and provide health care, that just doesn't work. Now, the reason it's changed is because it's, I know there's a lot of people that don't trust Bay State, but there is a new administration. The whole administration changed about a year ago. And this is when they came back and they talked to us and sat down and we negotiated this plan when they left. If they bring the money again and close this in WARE and bring it back to Wing, we'll fight them again and try and get it out of their hands just like we did before. So if it doesn't work and it fails, then we'll be back here again. But at least we can try it and bring healthcare to WARE, which is what the town by far wants to see done. Thank you.
All right,
I can't just,
no,
there's wrong things to say.
no, everyone's had a chance to speak.
That's fine.
We need
It's
to,
not comments and concerns anyway.
I know, but we're not gonna go all night for comments and concerns.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, okay. All right, so the next item is under the consent agenda. We have the approval of regular meeting minutes, May 6th, May 9th, May 20th, June 3rd, and June 17th. And we also, so I need a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda and the approval of the minutes for the following dates, May 6th, May 9th, May 20th, June 3rd, June 17th, all of 2025.
All regular session minutes. John seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Then we have special event permit application. We have one for summer fireworks presented, Stuart Beckley is the applicant, for starting date of August 9th, from 2 o'clock in the afternoon to 10, with the rain date the following date, August 10th. We have one for WARE Soccer Fall 25 preseason party. The applicant is Daniel Neffinger. The date is August 16th, from 10 to 1. There is no rain date. It would be at Grenville Park. And we also have a domestic violence awareness walk. Jenny Simmons is the applicant. The event generally takes place initially at Veterans Park. It's October 5th, I believe that, Stuart, is that a Saturday, do you know?
Sunday.
Sunday, October 5th, from 11:30 till 3, and generally after the event with some speeches, then there generally is a brief walk through Main Street and Pulaski Street. Excuse me, and then, sorry. One last one, from Fieldcrest Brewing as the applicant. The event to be held at Janine's Frosty on Saturday, July 26th. There is no rain date. I believe it's a car show, and it would be from 10 till 3. We have a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve the above mentioned special events and one-day liquor licenses.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Oh, I was wrong. was not only an event, it was a one-day, sorry, so I stand corrected, a one-day liquor license for beer and wine. I apologize, I misstated, so we still want to approve?
Move to approve.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
So, under scheduled appearances, Chief, I'm gonna step down and go out of the room, Josh is gonna take over.
Sure.
Good evening. After a vetted process, I'm proud to present Summer Breen for the board's appointment to the final open position of the WARE Police Department for a full-time police officer. She's currently a local college police officer. She has the full-time academy and some specialty training involving sexual assaults, which will truly benefit the police department.
Anybody have questions for Chief? All right, would you looking for a motion?
Okay. I move that we, approve,
The hire.
Summer Breen? Summer Breen?
Summer.
I'll make a motion for the approval to hire Summer Bryn to the WARE Police as a full-time officer. Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Congratulations. Congratulations.
No picture, Nicole?
No questions, no pictures, nothing.
Chief, effective date?
July 20th.
Let me get Josh out of the
Yeah, I don't.
Do you want everybody?
No.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Thank you. It was just the front copy, correct?
Yeah. And then, I request the board to move forward with the promotional exam.
Yes.
Okay. The board approve a promotional exam for sergeant, preferably in the fall, October and November-ish, to have public safety consultants who's done our last three. Russ Stevens is currently running that business, and he's extremely professional. He's a retired Connecticut state trooper, and he's really built this his business up.
I'll make a motion, Jack.
I made, what is, I'm sorry, the name again?
Public safety consultants to move forward with a sergeant's assessment center for promotion.
I make a motion that we accept the,
The exam.
Chief's recommendation.
the chief's recommendation.
John, second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Chief, what exactly is this sergeant assessment center?
So the civil service, it falls under the civil service guidelines, so it's more real life scenarios and examples that have happened versus just a regular question and answer test. So you get someone that's really book smart, but street knowledge and so it's been very successful, and a lot of departments are trending to that and have been, so.
All right, thank you.
Yep, you're welcome.
All right. You good?
Thank you, appreciate it again, board.
Thanks for bailing me out.
Chief, thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Nancy?
I know if you want somebody to come in. All right, next on the agenda is a discussion with the Oak Ridge Circle residents, and this is the notice that went out to everyone, to all of the Oak Ridge Circle residents. The WARE Select Board is inviting you to attend our Select Board meeting on July 1st at 6:40 p.m. at the WARE Town Hall to discuss your concerns related to the rail trail, including security, access, and motorized vehicles. And I don't know if anyone is here on Zoom. I see we have a map up, correct? I know the Select Board has a map of the area.
Yeah.
And I guess Josh is the one that had asked me to put this on the agenda because he had been in touch with people who had complained about some things that have been going on, which is a disruption to the quality of their life. So I see quite a few. Can I just have a show of hands so I know who is from Oak Ridge? All right, thank you very much. All right, so Josh, do you want to present?
Yeah, so I was contacted by a resident stating that multiple times he has had ATVs. I do have video that was shown to me of ATVs, dirt bikes, golf carts, as well as wild, well, I call them wild animals because if you can't keep your animal under your control, it's wild. Entering properties and everything else. So that's why I asked that we hold a meeting, but encourage that the residents come out so it could be talked about in general. For whatever reason, something got misconstrued stating that the select board was gonna hold a meeting and do this without anybody. Absolutely not. It never was discussed. Even in the letter to the select board, I requested that you guys be invited to have this discussion. So when stuff goes on social media and you're saying I said something or that the board is doing something behind your back when I purposely made sure that you guys were going to be here for it, really is aggravating. I put you guys above a lot, a real lot. So I'm not happy with the fact that that got taken out of context. And it's clear as day. If anybody would like the letter that I sent, raise your hand and I'll get it to you by the end of the night. So you guys we can have a discussion on this. I thank everybody for showing up for this because it does affect the rail trail. The rail trail should be a safe and a great place to use. A lot of the problem is it's not used enough. A town that I work in, 500 to 600 people use the rail trail every single day. It's policed just like that. But we don't have enough residents using it. And the ones that are down there that are ripping up and down on the ATVs, and I've walked down it and I've seen the tracks of ATVs, somebody's going to get killed or hurt. It's a concern. The whole thing with the gates that we're gonna bar everything off was nonsense. The gates have to be there and approved for emergency personnel. Over a year ago, I discussed this with the town manager on making sure that the gates that were gonna be there were going to still allow access for emergency vehicles. It is not to bar anybody from the use of the trail, but it is going to stop a lot of the nonsense that is occurring. I think we can all be in favor for this one thing of ATVs don't belong on it. Golf carts do not belong on it. Dirt bikes do not belong, snowmobiles do not belong. We have a luxury to have such a nice thing in the backyards. We do. But at the same time, when residents are also being disrupted of their day-to-day life, we have to look as a board on how can we handle that. By putting up some gates and everything else, I didn't really think it was gonna be that big of a deal. You're still gonna be able to access the gates, the rail trail. Mr. Hawk is here, he's a very frequent, he talks about it, he's part of everything to do with it. If you guys didn't think I didn't have that gentleman in mind the whole time, shame on you, because I did. He talks to me all the time, and he asked me what I was looking to do with this. It is not to bar anybody from use, handicap or not. So the gates are there to prevent nonsense from happening. Because if it's your family member that gets hit by an ATV, they're gonna panic and they're gonna run. They're not gonna sit there and go, I did the wrong thing. Now your loved one, or you, is gonna be dealt with that horrible hand. I'm trying to look out for the betterment of everybody. Not just because I will think that, or I want to have a heavy fist with this. It's for everybody's use, just not with the ATVs.
Does anyone from Oak Ridge like to comment a little bit as to what might have transpired recently?
I don't walk there anymore, okay? But in prior years, the kids played there. We've never had any problems on the trail. And I've been walking that trail since 1940 when I first moved to town. It was a railroad bed. And there's never been any trouble. So I don't know what's going on now. And if if vehicles are running on that trail, then I can understand why people are crabbing, but, you know, if you're just walking the trail, I don't see any problems whatsoever.
And I assure you with all the honesty that I can possibly give you, I have videos of ATVs reaming down that trail.
Oh, I'm not disputing
not
you.
No, and I know that, but I wanna make sure that you guys understand that. That's what really got me to come up and bring this up to Mr. Beckley a year ago about this. It's just not safe. And in my town that I work in, you'll be arrested on the spot. But again, the population on that trail is through the roof. And I don't think the trail is built up enough that you're gonna have that population of people monitoring and policing.
But I've been living on Oak Ridge Circle since 1964. The kids played there, they had baseball fields there, everything was there. And now you're trying to block it off, and I just don't
But I
understand.
think
not-
Mrs.
Are you
Marcy,
blocking off the access from Oak Ridge Circle, or are you blocking off the access on Mountain View Drive?
Right, because it came across as two different ways. It came across as gates were gonna be put up under the assumption of by the bridge down by Malbluff, is it Malbluff? And on Mountain View. We also have the access point on Oak Ridge Circle, which if you go down there, there is a rock there, which is fine in the center of the rock. It is also completely overgrown with brush. And as a female who often runs alone in the morning at 5:30 in the morning, it's my safe place to run. But hearing the things that have come about and people telling me different things does not make me feel safe. And if there are underlying issues there, then we as the residents of Oak Ridge also need to know that as well.
So, to answer a couple questions, the discussions that I've had in the past with Stuart, and I've had discussions with you via social media, is that it doesn't need to be a gate. However, we can create a baffle with large rocks. So
There's
that,
already a rock there.
There's already a big rock there, and we don't know who
You
put
have
it
to
there.
side shuffle in order to get on
And
and
I
off
think-
of that rail trail at the
Yeah, and at somebody put that there, that's a right of way, isn't it, for the?
That is a right of way.
Yeah, for somebody to access their property behind there. So why this big rock is there, I don't know who put that
The
there.
rock's fine, but it's also overgrown as well. So, but the
The
way that it
town's
came
gonna
across,
clean
and
it
I watched the meeting 2 or 3 times to make sure that my information was correct in what I was saying. Your letter was fine, everything was fine. Then when Mr. Beckley spoke, it was under the impression that the gates were already in the works, which is where the fire came from.
Mr. Beckley does not have the authority yet to do that. That would come through the
Now,
board.
I wanted to make my point across that as that's one of the main reasons why I purchased my house 5 years ago, was because of the access to the rail trail, because of the safety for my children, to be able to go on the rail trail where they have stopping points and I can see them, and I don't have to worry about cars speeding through or anything like that.
anyone else from Oak Ridge?
Well, I'm not from Oak Ridge, but as a mom, I'm always a mom, and she runs that at 5:30 in the morning, and someone on that access told her that there's a rapist that hangs out behind his house. So cars, and I'm all for it, block it off, but if there is something else going on there, I feel like these residents have a right to know. She's on there at 5:30 in the morning, I don't want her on there if this is really what's going on.
Understood.
Can I speak up?
And we haven't done the answer to that.
Steve,
Yeah.
go ahead.
There's a lot of people
Okay,
don't.
no,
I'm sorry.
before that's thrown out here and no response,
Okay,
it's not because they are holding back, it's not because
I
I'm
don't
holding
know
back.
either.
That is not known knowledge.
Thank
I
you.
don't even think it's accurate knowledge, but
Well,
the
it was
person
a
who
police
said
officer that
it, well, the
told her
person, I'm well aware, who says these things. He should show up at these meetings and step up.
Okay. Do you understand why
I
I'm nervous?
understand everybody's concern
I'm
with
like, then don't run
comments
the
like
rail
that.
trail
And I haven't been, I haven't been
Can I
running the rail
interrupt for a
trail.
second? It sounds like a lot of this information is being on Facebook.
No,
That seems to
it's
be
not
the way.
Facebook, he stopped her.
It was in-person conversation.
So
If that
it's-
is the case, then I need to know as a female who runs the rail trail by myself at 5:30 in the morning.
Right.
Go ahead, Stephen.
About that person, I emailed Stuart and the police chief over the spring, that there is a homeless person living on the rail trail next to Lowe's. They have a tent in the woods. And I believe, Stuart, you have the email I sent you with the tent in the woods. I also sent to Chief Kubier and Josh, I think I sent it to you.
Yep, I got it, buddy.
Nancy, I'm not sure if I sent it to you. the person still living there, chief asked me if they're causing any crime. I said no. He said that they keep them to themselves. I said, we see him walking around. He goes down to the brook to get water. I was not sure if he's bothering anyone. The chief also said, there's the trash in the woods. I said, no, he's not causing any trash, not burning anything, but there is homeless people that do live in the woods off the rail trails. It's common. That's one thing I brought up. And the thing about access points, from Gibbs Crossing by Walmart to Robbins Road, there's 10 access points to the rail trail.
Yeah, there are.
There's quite a few, not just on the roads, but past, like, what's that road we're talking about? Oakwood Circle. There is a right of way, which used to be all sand. There was a boulder there, but that has to be ADA compliant, both sides of the boulder. And all the ballards that are there, there's supposed to be a safety pin for the police and firefighters. The police chief and fire chief has to have access to a key. As of right now, the bollards can easily come up. I've asked for years, why is there not pins keeping the bollards in? It does no good. It's nonsense. And just that's why I talked to you about if there's gonna be some sort of gates. Someone said that there's a gate from Robbins Road we can close to block all access, which I've had problems. When the rail trail first opened, the DPW took it upon themselves to close it. What's up with that? And then down on Malibu, there's a second gate that's been there for years that the DPW also closed, so nobody can have access. But that's a public trail, it has to be at least ADA compliant. Yes, I want no ATVs, no snowmobiles, no four-wheeler, side-by-sides, but if we're gonna spend the money to put bollards there, it's for people to kick up so they can get through, what's the point? So if we are gonna do something to block all ATVs, vehicles, just to give you a heads up, there's 10 access points. So the board knows.
Thank you, Stephen. Mr. Downey, did you want to say something on the
Yes.
agenda?
I am Brian, I live on Oakwood Circle, and, I've provided some of those videos, all right? And I prepared a little something because I am the one who lives with a lot of the problems. So I am coming before you, even though I don't really want to be coming forward for other reasons. I'm gonna start, Lincoln said something, if you give him 6 hours to cut down a tree, he'd spend the first 4 hours sharpening his axe. You know why that is? Prepare. This trail is not what it was. It's not what it was back in the 40s, 60s, 70s. It's not what it was. The trail was there, yes. The trail has changed drastically in the past few years. All right? So the trail was single path walking. People would cut it down, make it so you could use it. It was a great trail. And it was nice for families. It was safe. Occasionally you'd see a golf cart or a dirt bike, and I gotta tell you, the dirt bikes and the golf carts are the least of your problems right now. Right now, the trail got blown wide open. Since then, I've had physical altercations in my backyard because people think that my yard was part of the trail and that their dogs could come in. They'd bitch about, they'd complain when they'd pick a fight with my dogs. Well, they're in my yard. And I would have someone let a dog off their leash into my yard to fight with my dogs. And then the person screaming at me to get my dog on a leash. How fair is that? The only problem I can say with the golf cart, I had 2 8-year-old boys and a 10-year-old girl on the back deck. There goes a golf cart loaded with boys. There's a boy standing on the back urinating. That's real great. How's that for a family? So, not only that, my house has been broken into, which is documented, was recorded on camera. The reasons I didn't go forward, again, is because of what my profession is. This has all been reported, documented, and it's been provided in text. It's been reported to the town. I've also showed that same thread to the board, because my complaints are falling on deaf ears. And I'm telling you, someone's gonna get hurt. My last message to the board was, when someone gets hurt, because it's coming, you can't, no one's gonna claim ignorance. No one's gonna be able to claim that they didn't know. It's coming, and negligence is no excuse. What I've been told about the trail, the town doesn't maintain it, the town's not gonna use money, it's donations to maintain the trail, volunteers only. On the same breath, I'm gonna go back, and yes, I've seen volunteers maintain it, but I've also been told, what happens if a volunteer gets hurt while working on public property? Who's liable for that? That's what I've been told. I've seen the highway out there, I've seen parks out there. Who maintains it? Who's in charge? Who do we go to with complaints? Because we've tried, but they're falling on deaf ears. But I'm gonna tell you from a professional and a personal standpoint, when someone gets hurt, it's gonna come back on someone. So with that, you know, we tried to form a committee, that got taken apart. Along with this trail, the nepotism, which leads to, you know, certain individuals can call in complaints, we're jumping on it. And then that leads to cronyism. If you're on the in crowd, we're gonna take care of your problem. That's an issue, that's a bias. Everyone's voice counts, everyone's the same. You know, the criminals are using the trail. I can tell you that, firsthand experience. If you don't think they are, you're misled. All right, you may not recognize them, but walk in my shoes, you will. And there's public records requests, can be made, can be discovered. All right, the criminals have used it. They use it as a pipeline to shoplift. Easy, quick way out, cover. All right, I've got firsthand experience with that. Our bigger problems, the e-bikes. I don't walk on that trail. I was walking on that trail the other day and I almost got smoked by an e-bike. You don't hear them. They're traveling at a high rate of speed. Some people are coming down, the music blaring, thank God, because you can hear them. You know, it's out of control. It's the Wild West. What we did was we put the mass pike in. We didn't put lanes up. We didn't put on ramps, off ramps. There's no lines. And what happened is, if you don't think there's criminality on that trail, look, the town manager did have signs. The building commissioner went out and put them up. The ballards were put up. The ballards are getting ripped down. Stephen Huck, right on the money. Why aren't they locked? Use the same lock that's at Grenville Park. Every cruiser's got a key to that. The ballards are getting ripped down, they're thrown in the ditch, they're thrown in the river, the signs, ripped down. I've stopped walking out and putting it up, and nobody reads it anyways. And I was just standing at the entrance there at Oak Ridge talking to one of the neighbors, and literally we watched somebody walk onto the private property across. There's nothing there, and how do you fault someone when they walk off it? And they're like, well, it looks like a trail, right? So, I don't think that we put all our energy into it properly. We just blew it open and we were like, oh, okay, now what? You know, I was told 3 years ago when they saw how it was wide open to my backyard that they were gonna put a fence in. Again, same breath, I heard, well, we gotta get donations because we can't use town money for that. But yet, town money's being used. Town equipment's out there mowing. Their time, town gas. You know, the other things on that trail, dogs attacking people. The dogs are supposed to be on a leash. In Massachusetts, if your dog's can I finish? In Massachusetts, if a dog's recallable, that's a leash, right? I'm sorry, did my dog ever attack you?
Nobody came after me. I was going to go on.
Came on my yard. It was friendly, but it wasn't on a
I
leash.
think fences work, but they work around your yard, not everybody else's.
If we're gonna put fences up, the
Yes,
town's gonna be spending
A lot of
money to
money.
put a fence, 2.2 miles both sides, is 5 miles of fence. That's, nobody's gonna have the money for that.
Yeah, and where there's other
Can I
assets.
just- can I just interrupt for a
If one person
second?
wants a fence,
Stephen,
then
hold
everyone's
on,
gonna have to wait for a fence.
hold on. I just want him to finish and then we can have a little bit of
Okay.
discussion, please.
Thank you. Again, I wanted to educate people, 80% of crimes are committed by opportunity. They're not planned. And right now, the way the trail is, it sets up, it is a pipeline of opportunity. And if the signs and the ballards getting ripped down aren't telling you that, I mean, that's a clue, right there, that it is. You know, I feel like the rushing to just get that thing paved and blown open was a little premature.
It's not paved.
And, well, you know what I mean, hard back. But, and that's it, and you hear the little comments coming up as everyone wants to oppose the reality, but everyone got to throw their 2 cents in, allow me to throw mine. All I'm trying to do is look out for the well-being of those who live along the trail and those who use the trail lawfully. I don't disagree, you should be running it every morning safely. I don't disagree, people walking it should be there, they should have the access. It's sad that we actually have to have this conversation. It's sad that gates need to be put up. But, do you have a lock on your front door? Locks only keep an honest man honest.
I never lock mine.
So what's the difference from the road trail?
Ryan, are you done? Are you done?
I'll end it there.
Okay,
Thank you.
you're welcome. Does anybody else want to speak?
Yeah, can I ask a question?
Hold on, you had your turn for a second. Jessica?
Yeah, I live on Mountain View Drive, and I got this letter in the mail and thought I would come. I live right on the rail trail. I went to every single meeting when they decided to put that rail trail in. I bought my house with, knowing that there was a, rail there, but I didn't know that it was gonna be a walking path. And you can ask Stuart Beckley, I went to every single meeting when that rail trail came. I was the only resident that on that whole trail that would show up at every single meeting. Am I correct, Stuart? And I sat there meeting after meeting after meeting when they started taking those trees down, and my backyard was fully opened to that rail trail. And I said, could I please have a fence? Could I please have a fence? Yep, we're gonna get you a fence, we're gonna get you a fence. I went to every single meeting, and do you know that somebody on the rail trail that bought his house, when he purchased the house, the rail trail was fully open, there was no trees blocking his yard to that rail trail, like mine. He walked into a meeting, they bypassed what they were doing, asked him what he wanted, and he said, I'd like a fence, and here's an estimate, $5,000. And I also want a door off the back of it so I can get on and off the rail trail. He was granted that fence, buying his house, everybody, with his whole house opened. He knew that rail trail was there. I'm not gonna tell you who it was, but it's a shame that that happened. I went to every single meeting, they were working on my fence. How many years later, I do not have a fence that blocks my yard from that rail trail. I will agree with Ryan, because you know what? People come through your yard. When you are a butter to that rail trail, you can tell me that people stay on the trail. I have been places where I've heard a scanner go off to go to my residence, that there was someone walking through my backyard. I can tell you how many cars that pull up to that rail trail right by my house, and I say to them, you need to back up and turn around and go that way. Well, can't you pull that thing right out? No. This isn't a road. You need to back up. That is for emergency vehicles. You cannot go through there. So I absolutely agree with anybody that lives and their property abuts that rail trail. I did not buy my house knowing that that was gonna be fully opened and that they were gonna take all those trees down between me and that rail trail. So I highly agree with Ryan. Until you live completely on that rail trail, you will understand. One day, I actually helped Mr. Hawk here because he was stuck and his wheelchair was going over. And I asked him to please turn around and go back home because he couldn't make that steep up on Mountain View Drive. And in my house, I heard, help, 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 help. And I ran out and had to call my neighbor to come help me move his wheelchair to get him off of that rail trail. And I asked him to please turn around and go back home because I don't want to see him falling over in that rail trail. There is a lot of things that need to be done on that rail trail, and I totally agree. I think we opened it and people drive it. I mean, there's some people, and absolutely, Amy, I've seen some sketchy people. I've seen some, not so good things. But you know what? I think we need to realize, you know, and now I'm hearing that we have to raise money to buy fences, and it's just amazing to me because Stuart, and correct me if I'm wrong, you came actually down with color palettes and asked me what color fence I would like, and I still don't have a fence. So, there you go.
All right. You know, go ahead.
Hi, my name's Larry Levac, I live on Oak Ridge Circle. And I am one of the people who uses the rail trail every day, because I walk my dog every morning and usually every evening when it's not unbelievably hot out. And I've seen a lot of motorbikes, I've seen four-wheelers, I've seen e-bikes, I've seen dirt bikes, snowmobiles at all times of year, and I've had encounters where someone almost hit me or my dogs, just tearing down it. So, you know, we need to put up the posts that are there, need to be locked, and we need to have it so that there's some enforcement of it. I can't police the trail, what am I gonna do? Chase after them? There's no way for me to police that. That is the job of the police department. So if we have rules for the trail, we should first and foremost try enforcing said rules, I believe. Now the trail, we bought our house a year and a half ago. The rails to trails and the access was a huge selling point for us, because we have dogs, and my wife and I like to walk. And the rail to trail is plenty of beauty down it. Now, when you get along people's yards, I understand wanting a fence up, so people don't cut through your yard. But there's some areas, if you go towards Walmart from Oak Ridge Circle, there's a lot of habitat right along that, as a biologist, that is very, it's high quality habitat, it's very rare habitat. That's why you get the lady slippers showing up there and some of the other plants that show up along there. So there's a lot of excellent habitat there that we should be preserving and not necessarily tearing up through there. So we need to be preserving that. And I understand putting in fences, and I'm in support of fences along people's backyard, but we don't need to fence the entire trail. Because if you do that, there's a lot of wildlife that moves through that area, and it's either gonna get funneled onto the trail where it's going to have an encounter, and then somebody's gonna get hurt. Or, more importantly, it's gonna funnel it towards the roads, which is the only time to get around it. So cars are gonna have an interaction with deer or bears or something, and those never end well for any of the participants in that altercation. And lastly, it will focus those species in neighborhoods, which if your kids are out, you don't want a bear that can't get out because it's fenced all the way around. So it needs, what we need to do is, I think we need to, no pun intended, pump the brakes and think about how some of this can be done intelligently that was promised along people's yards, so we don't have people just randomly walking through yards, but keep the other parts of it open and natural and beautiful, which is the whole point of it. Otherwise, we have a cattle pen and the spirit of the trail is lost. And it could be a wonderful asset for this town. And it borders on that, we just need to make tweaks to it, not wholesale changes to it. And it can be there. And it should be a safe place. And I've seen Amy on the trail, I've seen many people out on the trail. So it's been good. But, you know, little things like that can make massive improvements. But again, start with enforcing the existing rules. Ryan's right. You know how many times I walk on the trail, they put up a brand new sign, and within 2 days, that sign is flat, or missing, or thrown in a ditch.
So, thank you first of all for coming. There was a lot going on that I'm not familiar with, and I apologize. I made the assumption, just like the city of Northampton and a few other places, that the rail trail is there for the benefit of all. It's a recreational tool, people enjoy it, but it sounds to me like this particular section, compared to the one that's off of Church Street and heads towards the Hardwick-Gilbertville area, has had lots of problems and lots of issues that have come up because of a lot of various things that are going on. Stuart, I know that you had initially, last year or the year before, had meetings with, I thought, police, fire, and Josh, was you part of those meetings? Can you just give a little bit of a quick synopsis as to what those meetings actually?
Well, same thing that's been discussed tonight. The purpose of the meeting was to stop the use of motorized vehicles. So, but the reason
Go ahead.
The reason we involved the deputy and the fire chief was to make sure that they still had access to provide public safety in case there was an access along the trail. So that they came and made recommendations about how gates could be laid, as well as boulders, so that people just didn't go around the gate. So that was the plan.
But I thought also part of the plan, when you used to report back, was to have some monitoring done by public safety. Am I wrong?
Well, that predates the gate discussion by years,
Okay.
and why the signs went up and why we created the signs. The signs need to be better installed, but the committee at the time was told it can't be enforced without signs, so they put up signs. So whoever raised the enforcement thought that is pretty important, is, you know, there should be a response when there's an ATV. I understand that there's an odds that the ATV will disappear before the police show up, but that's the purpose of the signs, is for enforcement, not as well as public education. So we will get those signs made back up. It would be a shame.
I don't
Just
want to
like-
see the rail trail cease, because it sounds like there are more merits to it.
Well,
as
we owed
opposed
a
to-
lot of people a lot of money if the rail trail ceased. So
Correct.
rail trails are huge benefits to communities. They're economic drivers, they're recreation spots, they're
But they
open space
qualify
spots.
communities also for other recreational monies, and that's why
Right.
I'm wondering.
So, I do also want to add, just since the map's up here, what
Go ahead.
they were talking about before. So, this is Oak Ridge Circle.
Yep.
This is
And our access to it.
this is an extension of Oak Ridge Circle that is owned by the town of Ware.
Okay.
This property over here has a required public access, private access, as an egress point from this property to Oak Ridge Circle.
Okay.
So there can't be a full gate here, or it would be impossible to gate this off, but, so.
No, that's too large.
Yeah, so, there has to be, to answer your question, I'm pretty sure many years ago, there was a string of boulders, right where the finger is, and it was reduced based on the complaint that
Right.
they have to have some
Now
egress.
it's overgrown with brush.
Right, so,
The town
let me address that point.
Okay.
Let me address that
Sorry.
point too. Mr. Downing's actually very correct. It is the town Ware DPW that mows this once or twice a year because it's necessary.
Yep.
We can point out to them that this area needs cleaning as well.
Thank you.
To address Mrs. Rowan's point, we do owe her a fence. Sorry it's taken so long. The money is set aside, and we have quotes, so that can be done.
But
So,
how many people along that rail trail will want fences up?
so I
We've
get,
committed to 2, but I understand.
so
Can you do it for
can I
1
interrupt though
No,
for a
don't,
second?
really don't.
It
So-
sounds as if,
Don't have money to do
it
that.
sounds as if there needs to be a re-engagement and a collection of information to best see how we can proceed so that properties that are owned by private owners are protected, that it becomes a much more safer and conducive to recreational needs. So how can we get to that point in a quicker fashion by reevaluating what currently exists and what is needed to not appease them, but rather satisfy their being infringed upon as property owners? What can we do in a quick fashion? I mean, chances are, if we start the process, there might even be grant monies out there, because recreational trails are so highly looked upon as being advantageous to a community.
Right, we've been very successful with the Mass Trails program. We've received 3 for this project, so I don't think that would be a problem. And we received more, well, hopefully we'll receive more for the Grenville Park section. I think a big issue, based on the feedback you're getting, is whether or not the board wants to gate any part of this.
I guess before we expend a lot of monies on gates, I would think, are there things that that satisfactorily get the result that's needed without having a total gate, which then has got a lock on it, which becomes injurious to other people. Do you know what I'm saying? It's like gates serve a purpose, however, they also keep people from enjoying.
Well, it breaks it up. So there's a great example by Mr. Della Penna's section of the trail in Florence of gates that are there for safety reasons to stop people from crossing a particular road,
Yeah.
you know, by flying across. But it leaves access around the gate, not enough for ATV, but
For someone who
for
might be.
someone to slow down and either walk or ride their bike across that crosswalk.
And what about handicap access?
You have to allow that space.
Okay, I just wanna be sure, okay.
But it does, like if you're riding for exercise, it does break up your ride. It slows you down. But it, you know, if, it will do the same thing for
So this is the kind of gate you're talking about?
the one, that's what we're looking at here. Nicole has done a good amount of research. The one in Northampton is much more heavy.
But there's 10 access points for this one small trail.
Yeah, I think we'd be looking at 6 to start, Steve.
Yeah.
So it sounds to me that we need to perhaps have you re-engage public safety, the DPW, and I would tend to think maybe a couple spokespeople from Oak Ridge Circle. I think that's gonna get you the quickest manner. I don't know how you feel about that, but
I feel great. The Open Space Committee was effectively the Bike Path Committee. We can re-engage them. There are 2 or 3 members left. The committee that Mr. Downing's talked about that we tried was a friends group. We've tried that 2 or 3 times. The hard part is friends groups are there to support, including financially, not from their own pockets, but to raise money to provide for mowers, to provide for gates, to provide for maintenance when it's needed. Someday this will need to be resurfaced.
correct.
So that's not as easy to find people to
But
participate
we've
in.
gotta start somewhere, I guess is what I'm saying.
Happy to start with the Open Space Committee again.
Okay, all right,
Madam Chair,
yes.
if you recognize me, just based on my experience in working with Department of Conservation and Recreation and a number of other entities that have linear parks and facilities like that, I'm gonna warn you in advance that the one thing that gates do is they keep cops off of properties. If you wanna patrol this property and secure it, you're better off, rather than putting gates, spend the money, get a couple of cell phone cameras for the police department. We've been very successful with those on Mass Wildlife properties, as close as the Ludlow Reservoir. We had some individuals coming in and literally torch cutting gates out to gain vehicle access, to steal firewood and do other things. Put the cell phone cameras up. You can authorize 12 people to monitor these things. The cops can pick them up on the laptops and the cruisers. The station, the town manager, I could sit home and look at them if you wanted me to. They're all heat sensitive, motion sensitive. You got something going on, you don't even have to generate a police call for it until they show up and they deal with the problem. It's far less expensive, it's versatile, you can move them. DCR has had phenomenal results with some of their remote cameras that they put in the fobbing where they've had problems. But gating something off is, you know, we're gonna take and chop up the town properties again, and just for 45 seconds here for a quick historical note, because these are things that I've been involved in as I meander in and out of town government over the course of a couple of decades. The Banis Farm, which is a 21 East site, was turned over to the Conservation Commission when it was acquired by the town. So that's technically conservation land, the rail trail goes through it. I managed to work with the Molson family a number of years ago for the property that was known as Reds. It's now known as Mass Wildlife's Ware River Access. There's 27 acres, and as the gentleman right behind me pointed out, there's some phenomenal habitat in there and some endangered species. Working with WS Development as they were laying out the plans for the current Walmart, Lowe's, etc., they needed access to the railroad right away, which you guys know, I guess, because of the sewer line that runs down there. And they're the ones that initially opened it up and put the bridges in and everything else so that we could use it as a linear recreation property. But in turn, by allowing them to do a taking and adjust their site across town-owned property, we picked up just under 16 acres of property along the Ware River that starts at the 3-mile bridge and runs all the way around to Susan Drive. So we've got some significant holdings that are town-owned property that are listed for conservation and for recreation all along that river. There's great fisherman access, there's hiking, and there's most certainly a lot of wildlife down there. And the other piece of it is I'm a butter to the rail trail. Mrs. Massey will probably remember the days of my dirt bike and skating down a Sebs and everything else, because I'm one of the kids that she's talking about. And it was a great place, but, you know, times have changed. And things have changed, and we need to move forward from it. From listening to all of this, and Stuart and I have been talking about a few other issues there, but it seems to me that there's probably 3 or 4 properties that require a stockade fence. And then some work on the access points so they meet the ADA. Not an insurmountable problem. And the topography of some of the yards, I mean, you know, if you're sitting up 30 feet above the trail, a fence isn't gonna do anything. But if you're at 9 Oak Ridge Circle and your backyard is 9 feet below the trail and below the street, you need to put a fence around that for a little bit of privacy and security. And the other one, I assume you're in Mason's house, the old Mason house. That's another one. I mean, you literally could drive right into the backyard of that house, the way it's set up.
It sounds to me,
Yeah, well, that was Dick Mason's old house, right at the
No,
bottom.
it wasn't, that was old Potter's house.
No, that was Mason.
it sounds to me like there's a lot of good ideas.
I can't remember everything.
2 minutes.
You're supposed to.
Go ahead.
Just real quick, and that was great, John, thank you. What I was gonna say
I'm
is,
done.
the rail trail is huge, and this problem, I'm sure, isn't the first. And I would ask probably Steve Hawk and somebody to reach out to the rail trail groups. Other towns must have addressed this issue already. Why reinvent the wheel? I love the cameras. I think that's a better way. They can capture faces and license plates and
It's
all that stuff.
evidentiary for court,
But
too.
again, I think if you talk to the rail trail group, you probably got a lot of information.
All right.
You guys, so one last thing.
One last thing, yep.
The bollards that are on the rail trail, why aren't those have a lock and key? And if not, when can that get done? Cause that can all get done tomorrow.
They need pins, too.
They need pins that are locked. Cause why spend the money on bollards? I can fit in my wheelchair, pick it up myself. Take it out, what's the point of bollards are this, there, you can pop them right out of the ground.
All right.
There's no lock and key.
Can I, go ahead.
Just one last thing. John, I was thinking of the cameras, not to the extent that you do, but you know your stuff and I don't.
It's a little old, too, because I've been retired for a while, but yeah, it works.
But in listening to people here talking about capturing things on their cameras, it's a no-brainer. That's what we should do. However, my major concern is that we as a town have to be committed to go after those people.
Right.
Okay, and go through the whole process, involve the residents, have videos, and post it for whatever the penalties are going to be, okay?
Chapter 90B of the general laws covers all of that.
Awesome, and then go after them and their parents.
But the people have got to know. A police officer told one of my neighbors that any vehicle that's electric can go on that trail, not gas. Now they're talking here that they don't want any vehicles on that trail. If it's electric, can it go on the trail?
Yeah, I don't know, but we can find that out.
So,
Thank you.
Stuart, is it fair to say that maybe within a couple weeks, I'll even offer myself, arrange a separate get-together, you talk to police and fire, I'll contact a few of the residents, and we can have just a brief session to find out a little bit more information, and then we can perhaps brainstorm as to how we're gonna solve some of these things. All right. Is that satisfactory to everyone? Between yourselves, come up with 2 or 3 people that would be willing to meet with us. We'll do our part, and then I'll arrange a meeting for us separate here, okay? Work for everybody?
Stuart, when you get down to the legal piece of it, call me, I'll come down.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for your input.
Thank you.
As I say, I don't want to see anything bad happen. I don't want to see anyone get hurt. But there's a way that we can ensure that proper use of a rail trail goes forward, okay? Thank you, Stephen. Thank you, everyone, for coming.
Can vehicles go down that trail? No. Whether they're electric or whether they're gas, no vehicles can go down that trail. Am I correct?
The sign says no motorized vehicles.
Whether it's electric or gas.
Motorized sounds like it's both.
Because I am told that if they're electric, they can go down. So I don't know, I don't have an electric vehicle.
Oh, if it's electric and has a motor.
Well, that's what I thought.
With you.
But what,
Right.
a police officer told someone that.
Elaine, we have the rest of the meeting to go through.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's all right. We can't discuss anything until you. All right, the next item is under old business. It's the open meeting law complaint filed against the select board by Cynthia Allen dated May 23rd, 2025. Acknowledge receipt of complaint, review and discuss the board's response, vote to take any remedial action, and authorize the submission of a response by town council. So if you remember at the last meeting, I read portions of the letter that we had been given from AP Law. Conclusion now is the board takes this opportunity to reaffirm its commitment to compliance with the open meeting law and to foster and support transparency, and will vote at a recent meeting with respect to review and release of its executive session meeting minutes with redactions as appropriate for attorney-client privilege material to foster public transparency into votes surrounding. They state without compromising the importance of protecting the town's litigating position. The board therefore considers this matter resolved once we have our discussion tonight. Once we, can we, I don't want to close. Just step outside and ask them to perhaps silence. So I brought lots of papers, because I didn't know what anybody else was bringing. I have the complaint that was filed by Cynthia Allen. If you remember, we had a meeting on the 6th in executive session. I was not present for the next meeting, I was in the hospital. Basically, the description of the alleged violation is on May 6, 2025, the WARE Select Board and Town Manager Stuart Beckley met in executive session at the beginning of the scheduled Select Board meeting around 6 p.m. A situation was discussed with special counsel concerning possible legal actions to be taken against the town of Ware by Bay State Health concerning demands for access to endowment funds being disputed by several interested parties, including the AG's office, Division of Charities. This subject was not listed on the agenda. During this executive session discussion, a controversial vote was taken. When the open session began at 6:30, the select board did not disclose to the residents that a vote was taken to support Bay State's proposal. The vote was not put on the next select board agenda to be discussed with the residents, and it was not included in the town manager's report. The agenda can be accessed on the town website, and the meeting video can be viewed on WARE TV. This vote was briefly discussed on the May 20th meeting when a resident asked specific questions. Even then, the full subject was not disclosed in the meeting. These actions by the town manager and select board are against Massachusetts open meeting laws. So that was the complaint that was filed. We've had discussion with our council, and now that the board has actually, the board has actually accepted the meeting minutes of that date and released them for open session. I know we said we were gonna have a discussion, but we literally can say what we actually discussed in that meeting, and that is my intent tonight. I'm just gonna give you a minute to find those meeting minutes. Because I put them in the same place so I would not lose them. Huh? You feel my pain? Well, I put them here because I knew that we were gonna, hold on, they were right in front of my face. May 6th, executive session. Close it over, I don't want to do it here. So with the board's permission, now that they've been released into open session, we saying? You can't hear me? I can't shout. All right. We need to take a vote in open session to release the session meeting minutes with redactions. The meeting of executive session of Tuesday, May 6th, that began at 6 p.m.
I'll make a
That's
motion.
my motion, and you do it.
Oh, I'll second.
All in favor of?
Aye.
Aye. All right.
Aye.
So now I will read exactly what transpired and set everyone's mind at ease. Probably not, but I'm going to do it. So it was under Mass General Laws, Chapter 38, Section 21, Qualification A-3 litigation. Stuart Beckley, oh, sorry.
How, the vote was just subject to redaction, right? So are you gonna let the town attorney redact before you read all? Or do you feel it doesn't need redaction in this section?
I was just gonna read the portion with regard to what we discussed in executive session with Ms. Davidson. Do you not want me to?
I have no objection, I just don't,
Then I won't read it.
no, go ahead, go, no, there's nothing, no, that's fine, sorry, it's fine.
Well, I had kind of reviewed them, and we
Yep.
said we were going to release them. I'm not going to mention anything other than the section with regard to
Attorney Davis,
Attorney Davidson.
very good. Thank you, sorry.
In the meeting that the four members were present, Attorney Patricia Davidson was on Zoom, and she was the special counsel that the town had requested be authorized to investigate the trust. Stuart Beckley, Town Manager, introduced Attorney Patricia Davidson to the board, who is seeking permission from the board to proceed with discussion of a proposal to have Bay State come into town, and if the board is aware of Bank America is leaning towards asking the court to designate Bay State Center as the beneficiary of the Lewis Gilbert Trust as opposed to terminating the trust and transferring it. Clerk John Desmond asked how much might be in the trust fund. The reply was approximately $8 million, which annually has approximately $250,000 to $300,000 of interest. Chair Nancy Talbot stated numerous entities were contacted, and to date, no one had been interested until Bay State within the last few months. And the reference was with regard to establishing some type of convenient or urgent care in the town of Ware. Board asked for clarification on the board to support Bay State coming in, and then the vote on the funds. Clerk John Desmond and Vice Chair Josh Kisnes agreed the board should support the Bay State proposal and utilize the funds to help establish the location. Although member Jack Cassio felt the funds should be placed with the Community Foundation of Western Mass. Attorney Davidson stated that the Community Foundation would have control of the funds, and is the understanding that there would be a committee on what to do with the funds unless the town can identify an organization who is willing to bring resources, but many businesses can operate on generally a $300,000 budget annually. Based upon conversations with Bank of America, they are leaning towards giving the funds to Bay State, but they would be willing to change. Chair Talbot stated, it seems like Bay State is now forthcoming to reestablish in town, and it would be in the best option to support in favor of working with Bank of America and Bay State. Vice Chair John Kuznias and Clerk John Desmond agreed. Discussions continued about possible locations throughout the town. Attorney Davidson felt that the current Mary Lane site is not considered a central location and would possibly want a modern/better location. Stuart Beckley felt the Country Bank location on Main Street is Bay State's favorable location at this time. Motion made by Chair Nancy Talbot to allow Patricia Davidson to work with Bank of America to support Bay State's proposal with support of the town to move forward using available funds for establishing a convenience care or urgent care location within Ware. Seconded by Vice Chair Josh Kuzniers. Discussion. Member John Cassio does not agree to move forward with Bay State. No further discussion ensued. Majority in favor. Roll call vote. Nancy Talbot, yes. John Desmond, yes. Josh Kuzniers, yes. And John Cassio, no. There was never a letter sent to anyone I know there's been references of all kinds in your open meeting violation about a letter being sent. To date, no letter has been sent because the board did not formally take a vote in open session to further this. Stuart, do you want to add anything? I know I wasn't at the meeting on the 20th when you basically mentioned
Yeah,
what had transpired.
mention's the right word, it was part of discussion. So, as the attorney says in her directions, if you were gonna recreate thank you for reading the minutes, if you're gonna recreate the vote, to do so, just to formalize that mention.
So we need to take a vote in open session to recreate what was voted in executive session, so that we can respond, and the response will be to the, so.
And we can have discussion on it?
We can have discussion, but we're also gonna have to take the vote that was initially taken. So I will tell you that, I know earlier we had comments and concerns from everybody here. Our discussion was going to be by ourselves and allowing anyone to speak briefly. I've asked attorneys Brian Barry and Mike Knappich, who's the, correct me if I'm wrong, Eastern Region, what? What's
The
your
Vice
title?
President of Government Relations for Bay State.
Thank you. For Bay State to also be present to give any further information or updates so that we can put this to rest based on the information that was provided from Attorney Davidson, the information that I shared because of meetings that myself, Dr. Trace, and Stewart have had with Bay State officials 2 or 3 times, and the fact that they have made a proposal to us, which kind of goes along with things that they have been telling us in private meetings that we had with Peter Banco, who's the president of Bay State. So, I don't know, Ryan, do you want to speak first? Because
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would urge the Select Board to affirm its previous vote on this matter. I've been attending public meetings in this town for about 2 years now, and the one consistent theme that I hear from residents is we want the return of healthcare to the town of Ware. And so I'll make this plain. If this town, through the Select Board, votes to support Bay State's community care clinic, and if Bay State is allowed to continue to have the benefit of the Gilbert Trust funds, that community care clinic is going to be built in the town, period. There's a timeline, there's preferred sites, there's construction estimates, Bay State's ready to go on this. On the other hand, if Bay State no longer has the benefit of the Gilbert Trust funds, that community care clinic is not getting built. Again, period. The end. It's not getting built. And there's nobody else, as far as I'm aware, that's waiting in the wings. No other healthcare organizations have stepped up, to my knowledge, and said, excuse me, we want to bring a healthcare facility to the town of Ware. So, from my vantage point sitting here today, it's either healthcare provided by Bay State Health or nothing.
Mike, do you want to add anything?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair and members of the board. Appreciate the opportunity here today. And just to underscore a little bit of what Attorney Barry said today, at your request, we began meeting last fall with our new CEO, Peter Banco, and he made some simple requests of Peter. One was to delay the demolition process up at the hospital, which he agreed to do, now extended 8 months from the official delay. Also to consider bringing some brick and mortar presence back to the town, which Peter has agreed to do in the subsequent conversations. And you know that we engaged our clinical team, we engaged the real estate team, we engaged the finance team, and that's what the information that was shared to you and presented to the Bank of America about how we would actualize that in terms of the facility at a preferred location in concert with the officials here in town. And Peter Banco and the senior leadership at Bay State have committed to doing that, and to Ryan's point, on a date certain, on a time frame certain. And so, Peter, just as recent as last week, said, we have a commitment to the town. Notwithstanding what has happened previously, as we look forward to the future and reestablish a primary care presence, and you heard this, Chair Talbot, as well, if this is successful, there are all kinds of opportunities to enhance the services at a site here in Ware. And that's what we all hope, sincerely, that is bringing back a primary care presence will lead to other sorts of care being delivered here to the citizens of Ware and beyond. It just makes sense, and Peter's committed to doing that, but needs that, obviously, the commitment of the trust, which has historically been part of the spend here in Ware. And if you look at the pro forma, just starting up the facility is an enormous cost to Bay State. Subsidizing the facility is a large cost, and quite frankly, that's how a lot of the services in healthcare work, whether it's at our community hospitals, our inner city health centers, the doctorate practices that exist. It's how healthcare works in this modern age. A lot of things are subsidized, so it's not unusual that that would happen, but I think, in conversations we've been involved, and I think we're excited to have this presence in Ware, and we urge the committee to vote to support it this evening.
And Dr. Trace, I know you've had a conversation within the last couple of weeks about trying to have Bay State also set up a couple different things as part of this. Do you want to just allude to what that?
Yeah, I was, in our conversations, and again, this is a continued discussion, it's a work in progress, and I'm glad that we've made a lot of progress. And I've asked for 3 things that I'll share with you, and I'll put Bay State on the spot. The 3 things were, one, that this would be named after Mary Lane. It would be the Mary Lane Convenient Care and Urgent Care Center, and that there would be some dedication and some memorial explaining the history and the importance of the town and the trust and where some of this money is coming from to keep the name of Mary Lane. 2, I asked that we might consider a advisory board that the citizens might be able to participate, that we could be working with Bay State in this particular project, that we could be kept abreast of what's going on, give our opinion about services and have some transparency and that's a different model for Bay State, but I think it's important for the people of Ware and Hardwick to have some input, so we do have input. And 3 is that we get a full accounting of the trust funds that was promised to us about 6 months ago. There was an audit that was supposed to have happened by an independent audit of the trust funds that went with Mary Lane and the Gilbert Trust and the ancillary trust to get a full accounting. I thought all 3 of these things would rebuild some of the lost trust with the town and with the citizenry, and I think that would be an important first and second step. And we hope that through dialogue we can continue that, and hopefully that'll be accomplished.
And Mike, wait, hold on a second. Mike, could you just also confirm what you and I spoke with privately, that the audit report you believe is in the last stages of completion, and that hopefully by the time we meet on July 17th, we might be able to get that information?
Yeah, and I'll let Ryan speak to that. So the name of the facility, we've committed to it being the Bay State Mary Lane Convenient Care Center at the request of the community, obviously, and I'll let Ryan speak to the trust, but we'll continue the conversations, obviously, with the town at that meeting later in July as well.
Yeah, so as Mike noted, the name Mary Lane will absolutely be preserved in the name of the facility. With respect to the audit of the Gilbert Trust, that audit has now been completed. It was an independent audit, not a Bay State internal audit, independent outside auditors. It was what I would call a clean audit. There were no findings or concerns about the use of Gilbert Trust funds by Bay State. All funds were used appropriately for expenditures related to the Mary Lane Hospital. All receipts were reviewed, no misuses were found. The auditors were able to trace all expenditures that covered the amount that Bay State received. No funds were identified as being exclusively allocated for Mary Lane Hospital that Bay State redirected to other expense needs. Essentially, all the funds were directed towards Mary Lane and not towards other needs. And I believe it was stated earlier that the current balance of the fund is about $8 million. That's roughly correct. I'm told that the balance as of March 31 of this year was $7.7 million. And then Dr. Treach also asked whether Bay State would consider establishing a community advisory board made up with WARE and Hardwick and Gilbertville citizens, would meet periodically to discuss ongoing healthcare needs. The answer to that question is yes. In several other communities, Bay State has established community boards and community advisory councils with representatives from the geographical areas that Bay State serves, and Bay State's willing to continue with that model and would welcome input from the community on healthcare needs.
Is there anything else either of you would like to offer? No? Dr. Trace?
No, I'm very happy, and I think that it's gonna be ongoing discussions.
So now the board
Actually,
is...
I'm sorry,
I'm
one
no,
more
I'm sorry.
thing, Madam Chairman. I just want to point out that, Bank of America is in support of this proposal, as several people have stated. And I heard this afternoon from Bank of America, through their attorneys, that the Attorney General's office has also, endorsed the petition to allow Bay State to continue to use these funds. And as many people in this room know, the Attorney General's office in Massachusetts is responsible for sort of the care and custody and oversight of charitable funds. And obviously, if Bay State had been doing anything untoward with respect to the Gilbert Trust, the Attorney General's office would obviously not support Bay State continuing to have the benefit of those funds. Same thing with Bank of America, which as trustee of the trust has fiduciary obligations to make sure that the fund is spent appropriately. So that's all to say that in addition to this independent audit, which again was a clean audit, both Bank of America as trustee and the Attorney General's office as the government agency that oversees charitable funds in the Commonwealth, both are completely satisfied with the way that Bay State has used the Gilbert Trust over the years.
Okay.
I would say just one more thing. This is only gonna work with the support of the people of WARE and Hardwick. And if this doesn't work, and if in 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, Bay State goes under, somebody else comes, they move out, they decide to move out of WARE again, we can revisit the community foundation. That doesn't mean, when they took the funds out of WARE, that's when we went and looked at the community foundation, because they didn't deserve the funds bringing it at wing. And that's what we told them from the very beginning. And so if it then disappears again, for some reason, because it is a healthcare, you never know what in healthcare, then we can revisit this again. But right now, this is our only, best, and maybe ever chance of getting healthcare established in WARE.
Thank you. Jack? Jack wanted discussion, so I'm gonna have you lead off, because I know you've been meeting with Stuart and Cindy, and hopefully you've also now heard a little bit more than you probably weren't aware of.
I have a lot of scattered thoughts.
As do we all.
Yeah. And I'd like to trust Bay State. I really would. But I don't. And I don't trust Bay State for a number of reasons. Certainly one is regarding construction and seeing windows after promises of we're trying to salvage a couple of year buildings. And I see windows taken out, left open to the rains, and power shut off, etc. It was mentioned today, and I wrote it down, solid commitment, and talking about if we have a change in the what's the word I'm trying to think of, the people who were running the operation systems that are running at Bay State. Management, yeah. And I remember when I was working at Bay State, for Bay State Medical Center for a couple of years, and also for two outside contractors, Morroy and Miller Construction. I was privy and went through the change of the folks that were running the show, and I was sort of amazed at watching what happens is that all of a sudden a whole bunch of people leave, and then a whole bunch of new people come in. And then the philosophies changed. And so I don't have a lot of faith in words that we're gonna be there for you. I don't think that you're not telling the truth, but I don't think that it's a realistic statement. So there's all these different things, especially with the construction end of it, and leaving the buildings like they were, or are now open to the elements, and then tell us that you have concern for us and what you're leaving us. I don't see that at all. I'm wondering with the people that are taking care of the trustees, Bank of America. We were some of us were all set with the Springfield area, and that was a community foundation of Western Mass. And all of a sudden, that was changed. Now, from what I understand, the Community Foundation of Western Mass was more than willing to work with Bay State Medical Center and others, whereas Bank of America was tied into working only with Bay State Medical Center. So all of those issues give me pause for concern. And in talking to so many people, just down the street, people emailing me, stopping me here at church, they are looking for they're not looking for Bay State. And you guys mentioned it, that you have sort of a challenge to I don't want to say clean up the Bay State name, but to bring people into the fold. They're not willing to go into the Bay State fold. So there's a lot of there's a lot of concern there of how much trust, and I emphasize the word trust. How much trust there is for the typical person living here in WARE, the main people that have been here for quite a while and have gone through so many different issues with healthcare, and so my thoughts are not with you. It is with a change of venue and going on in a different direction.
Josh, do you have anything you want to add, say different?
No, I think, my personal opinion, hearing both sides, I asked Jack because I want to hear what he says. I do value his opinion pretty greatly. While you know that I also have a lack of trust for Bay State regarding a health incident that I was basically told to leave their hospital, and I was fine. Life-saving, thank God for UMass Memorial for saving my life. But at the same time, Jack, there's no other offers on the table with this, and healthcare is one of those things where I don't know if we're necessarily going to choose to go somewhere when you need something dramatically. You're not going to go to Bay State. we're caught between a rock and a hard place.
Yeah, we are.
We are, and the way I look at this is, here is the best option to have healthcare basically tomorrow. There's nobody knocking down our door, writing us emails stating that we're gonna come and we're gonna start this building. I've never seen anything.
If I can interrupt you for just a second, but there are people here that are privy to, some things that we may not be. And I'm not sure if they're gonna be allowed to talk.
Very limited, because I know a lot of you people also spoke earlier and had your say, Ken.
Just, that, what I wanna just be clear with, Josh, because I hear you, and I hear Jack, trust me, I'm listening and putting everything together, and I'm fearful that you're not quite understanding what we've been trying to say. I don't know if it's Bay State. Bay State may put a proposal together and open something up here, if it gets all processed and approved, and that's cool. We're all in agreement, we want healthcare. We had priorities first, I love hearing that it may be Bay State, Mary Lane, how it's always been. I was there when we affiliated, so I've got a long history with Bay State, and I worked at Bay State. What we're asking you guys tonight was, it can be Bay State, and what you didn't hear from Pat Davidson, and I'm really upset listening to some of the things here, and just remember, the letter had said in April, they were already in the 11th hour. I don't know what everybody, you've got it right here, if you haven't read it, you got it here. So it was just to go, instead of bank, right now, I'm not even arguing with Bay State, I just don't wanna be with Bank of America. We wanna be with the Western Foundation Group that gives us all a better sense of how it can be used. They can give us grants in town, we might even get more money, and if Bay State's the only partner out here, they already said, and they were ready to work with Bay State. So it's not an either or, that's what I want you to know, it's not an either or. If we have to go Bank of America or Bay State doesn't come. I mean, that would be Bay State's choice. That's not Western Mass Group, okay? Western Mass Foundation is more than willing to work with anybody that wants to come and bring healthcare here. And if right now it's only Bay State, that's who they'll work with. But just as Dr. Trey had said, and you said it so eloquently, if in a couple years, and I'm just saying, I don't know anything, but let's say, because right now the money kind of is under the Wing charity, if all of a sudden Wing goes away, now we're fighting the big guys again. I don't want to be fighting in a couple of years. I want that money now to instead of with Bank of America, be with the foundation, that the foundation is flexible to work with anybody. And if they'll commit to Bay State for 3 years and see how things go and make sure people are using it and they're growing, great. But now's the opportunity. If you do not do this, if you guys don't rethink your vote, however you vote that thing, and just to say, no, it was already going with the community foundation, that's who the people wanted, that's who the hospital committee, we all went down there. Yes, we did, we gave the approval back in the fall, don't even go there, that's why they were in the 11th hour. I'm speaking, we were in the 11th hour. We were in the 11th hour, stop, we were already there. The letter is right here in black and white. Bank of America is ready, good, the AG says whatever you guys are happy with as residents, I'll tell you right now, the residents aren't happy. They're not happy with you guys. That is not where we were going. We were going this route because it's the best. Peter Thamel, please speak. He looked at both communities. He looked at Worcester, looked at here, and he said the Western group would be the best working for us. We're in the same community, they'll give grants, they give a better fee schedule if you're looking for money, it's cheaper. Nothing to do with Bay State. I'm looking at Bank of America and the foundation. I'm not even poo-pooing Bay State. If they open and do great, yay. But if they don't, I want us to be set in place to be able to move forward and do other things because it'll be in a better sense of control. Does that make more sense, Josh? Because you're saying like, I don't like Bay State. It's got nothing to do with Bay State. It's who's going to be overseeing the money. Bank of America or the trust, sorry, I'm so dry right now. Western Community Foundation, which is beautiful foundation, and it would help us tremendously. And if it works with Bay State for 5 years, I don't care. That's cool. If they say that's where it goes and that's how it's benefiting the residents, I think that's awesome. And if it says no, then it can go someplace else, and it can do whatever it has to.
You wanted to say something?
First of all, the hospital discussion committee committed to the foundation of Western Mass, assuming if the money was taken away by the AG, there needed to be an entity where something, the town could have something. They told Cindy, look, if the money leaves Bank of America, what are you gonna do with it? And the best thing to do, we decided after interviewing foundations, was to go with the foundation, if the money was leaving Bank of America. So that was the decision that we had made when we reviewed all the stuff. If the money was not leaving Bank of America, which it looks like it is not leaving Bank of America, it was going to Bay State. Bay State has said, if the foundation had the money, you say foundation had the money and Bay State, anybody can apply. Well, think about it, if you're running a business and you're making a $500,000 investment in renovating, and then you're hoping that you get the grant from some third-party grant on a yearly basis, that's not a way to run a business. You
It
can't.
doesn't have to be yearly.
It could be 3 years or 5 years,
That's
but
right.
that's still not enough to get your, but I don't think it's enough if they're not gonna do it, it's what they think. If they think it's not enough, they're not gonna do it.
They have to spend the money and where? That's what it comes down to.
They are spending the money in WARE, they're committed to spending the money in
Not the way we want
WARE.
it spent.
So.
For primary care and urgent care, that's what they're saying,
It's my turn to talk now. Do you want?
Well, again, I reviewed this, and I think that it's really clear. I understand everybody's concern here, but I think it's very clear that Bay State has the capability of putting a facility together. They see that they're putting their money up, and they need money from the Gilbert Trust Fund to continue to go forward with it. If we don't get this, then we're not gonna go forward with it. Nothing, we go back to square zero.
it's black.
With no plan at all, nothing, zero, no how. Show me another facility that's come forward here and say, here is a proposal, you don't have one, this is the only game in town. And this is what we have to deal with. And I'm very confident that this is going to work and work well. And I would very much support this proposal, and that's exactly what it is. But if another facility wants to come in with another proposal, fine. Show me another proposal. That's all I'm asking for, and I don't see it.
My turn to talk. We've spent 4 years, correct me if I'm wrong, Howard, 4 years? Hospital Review Committee. We watched the Historical Commission do a demolition delay permit. That came and went, the time is gone. Bay State was asked to hold off doing anything because maybe there were some entities that might be involved. People researched, nobody came forward. Stuart, myself, and Dr. Trace have worked and pushed. Howard, Mike, I know I've almost been a pain because I call you almost on a weekly basis saying, can we push this date up? I need some kind of a commitment so that we can tell people, Bay State has changed its mind. It is going to treat healthcare in this area differently than the previous administration. We got this. My encouraging. All I can say is, at some point, we have to trust the outcome that we were looking for, and the outcome was to get some type of health care back in this community. It's a start, it's a foundation. I've listened to them, and I have to think that someone, after my being here on this earth, in this town for almost 78 years, believes in the fact that I am that committed. Once I put my trust in someone, I won't let somebody down because I'm not going to go away. I believe that this is the best and only option at the present time, and it is the way that we can move forward quickly. And I can also tell you that the commitment that had been made by Bank of America's representative, and I wasn't going to say this, was made quickly, without haste, without any other one being knowledgeable. When you received some kind of a commitment, it was all over Facebook. The reality is that individual didn't have the right to make that kind of a decision. So that has been pulled back. Bank of America feels that the way that Bay State has been utilizing the funds up until the demise of Mary Lane, which we knew was coming for the last 10 years. And frankly, when Mary Lane became part of Bay State, I always thought to myself, at some point, this little country hospital is not going to exist any longer. All you have to do is watch healthcare and the way things transition from presidency to presidency, and whether it's the Democrats or the Republicans that are in power, as to see how things change. There's not as much money flowing. I'm very concerned that right now, because of all the things that are going on at the federal level, that this is our best choice to get something happen and provide the service that we need for our residents and the abutting communities. So with that, I don't know if anyone else wants to speak.
I would like to say something.
One last thing.
Okay, so we had the audit. The audit was for the Lewis Gilbert funds only. It doesn't mention all the other funds that still haven't been inventoried. So if you look at their tax returns, it was another 10 million or so in 2016 at the time of the merger. We have documents that show it was the Page, the Sanford, I mean, all these different trust funds that were left to Mary Lane Endowment Funds. They were on the 2016 tax return, so that needs to be inventoried. Out of 100 years, it wasn't just one family that left money to Mary Lane, there was a bunch of them. So that needs to be inventoried. Then the other thing is that we're making a decision and we don't even know if Bay State is going to get the Determination of Needs approval. An application hasn't been filed yet, and there is certain criteria that needs to be met. One of them is that you can't be saying you're gonna lose $600,000 a year. There's criteria. So before we're going and saying, okay, let's make this decision, we should be getting an inventory of the funds, and we should be making sure that they're actually gonna get the approval from the Department of Public Health.
Can I answer that question? Sorry, I heard the assertion last week, made that inquiry to our facilities department. These types of facilities don't operate under a Department of Health determination of need. We operate other convenient care centers throughout Western Massachusetts, so we do have a little experience in that. We are likely to build, I think Dr. Trish may have mentioned this, we are likely to build the facility so that it is consistent with those elements down the road that may require some element of Department of Public Health approvals. But this assertion separate from that, the assertion that the DPH doesn't approve things that lose money, I said earlier, for instance, we operate inner city health centers in the city of Springfield that are largely paid for by Medicaid. Most of healthcare is paid for by Medicare, neither of which are very good payers any longer because of what has happened over decades at the federal level in particular. So that's one point. So there is cross-subsidization that occurs. Bay State Health in Springfield, Bay State Medical Center, is an academic medical center with our partner UMass Medical School in Worcester. And you know, we're training students out here. That's the engine of all things that emanate. The community hospitals in Western Mass, the doctors' practices in Western Massachusetts. And from the point of being surety, having a surety of funding, we're recruiting primary care physicians, advanced practice personnel all the time. And to do that, and there's a crisis in Massachusetts and in the Northeast, in a focus on where are we gonna find the primary care that the citizens in our state deserve, but our ability to recruit providers comes with that certainty and surety of a financial stream that supports it. We know we've got a community hospital in Palmer. We do know people use it. Planting a flag of primary care here in WARE will help enhance the delivery of all of that primary care at both great expense but also at what folks need and deserve. But make no mistake about it, and again, all the attention in Boston is really brought to bear on how can we expand primary care to better serve the citizens of the state. That's what Bay State is doing with this proposal, so we appreciate the support we've gotten, but it's very difficult to nuance it in a 30-second soundbite because it is that complicated. But the proposal's there, we appreciate the support you've given, and we again encourage you to support it.
That all sounds wonderful.
If they don't get the proposal, then they don't get the funds.
So that all sounds wonderful, but why not get the money from the community foundation?
Right.
certainty. I can explain that if you don't mind,
Please.
Madam.
Because it seems like a blackmail thing, gotta do this, or we're not gonna come to your
But
town.
it's
Strongly push
not.
back on the assertion of blackmail. Here's how it works. If we work with Bank of America as trustee, we're gonna submit a petition to the probate court. And the probate court, hopefully, with the assent of the Attorney General, is going to approve a modification to the Gilbert Trust that allows the funds to be used for the Mary Lane Convenient Care Center instead of Mary Lane Hospital. Assuming that probate court petition is approved, then as long as Bay State is using the money for the Bay State Mary Lane Convenient Care Center, then it continues to have rights to those funds. We would have to do something, use the funds for some other purpose, or misappropriate the funds or something like that, for that revenue stream to stop. It's guaranteed, as long as we're not misusing it. If, however, we move to the Community Foundation of Western Massachusetts, Bay State would be treated on par with any other applicant seeking to use the funds for healthcare in the town of Ware, so that if somebody else shows up 2 years, 3 years, 6 years down the road and says, we would like a cut of the Gilbert Trust Fund distributions as well, then it's possible that Bay State's distribution gets cut in half, or cut down to zero. And, as Dr. Treach and Mike have noted, Bay State needs that continuity, that reliability of those funds in order to make this really significant monetary commitment to the town. We're talking about 7 figures of money to start this thing up, and $600,000 a year in losses without the application of the Gilbert Trust funding. And unless we can be assured that we have the use of those Gilbert Trust funds basically in perpetuity as long as we're acting appropriately, then the risk becomes too much to bear. And as I said, sort of the top of this segment, unless we have that certainty, this clinic doesn't have it.
All right, thank you. Any more discussion between the board members?
And what about the missing funds, though?
Hold on, I get to speak once in a while.
Okay.
Do you have any other questions for Attorney Barry or Mike Dempick? I have one, Ryan, if you don't mind, and I hope it's okay to call you Ryan.
Of course.
She alluded to the fact that there were other funds. Can you clarify for me, and Mike, perhaps you can, the fact, the audit report that was done, was it solely on the Gilbert Trust, or did it include any trust funds? Do you know that?
My understanding that it was solely on the Gilbert Trust. We understood that to be the primary
The directive.
concern of people in the town. I'm not aware of any allegation that Bay State misused any other trust fund.
Okay.
And just for a bit of history, when Bay State did acquire Mary Lane Hospital, it worked with the Attorney General's office with respect to the transfer and continued use of all charitable funds that were then in the independent Mary Lane Hospital, and everything was approved by the Attorney General's
And it
office.
became part of Bay State's pocketbook, so to speak, because...
Eventually, it got transferred over to the Bay State Health Foundation, which holds all charitable funds for Bay State, but, no changes to the use of funds. All, as with all sort of trusts or charitable gifts that have restrictions on them, you have to use them in accordance with whatever the restriction or whatever the donor intent was.
And to your knowledge, the Attorney General has never questioned anything that Bay State has done with any of the monies that it inherited, so to speak, once Mary Lane became part of the Bay State umbrella.
Correct.
Okay, that's all I needed to know. All right, any further discussion between the board members? If not, then we need to retake the vote in open session. I believe I made the motion, so hold on. My motion was to allow Patricia Davidson to work with Bank of America to support Bay State's proposal with support of the town to move forward using available funds for establishing a convenience care or urgent care location within the town of Ware.
Second.
We will do vote.
Yep. Aye.
Nancy, aye.
Aye.
John?
No.
All right, so 3 in favor, 1 against. And this time, a letter should go, Stuart, to Attorney Davidson so that she can, in turn, do what is necessary, and town council can now respond accordingly with regard to what we did in open session with regard to the open meeting law violation.
Thank you.
Right?
Correct, thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you.
Yes.
A lot of papers. 2 letters. The next item will be, under new business, the approval of the departmental transfers, and Stuart, I'm assuming, assuming the finance committee met.
The finance committee met and voted 3-0 to support the current list of transfers, which should, in the right-hand column, include, sorry.
What is that?
It's the updated list.
So,
Oh, instead of what we had?
Correct.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, sorry. I didn't even.
It's like school again.
Take one and pass, like school. Keep one for yourself, all right, sorry, Stuart.
no, that's
I
okay. You just
apologize.
want to make sure you had the right list, which is the total is on the right-hand column, $157,025.
Correct.
Okay, so that is the proposed list of transfers. Nicole
So
did a great
that-
summary of the
need
purposes
is
on the
in
front.
the right side.
Right,
Where
so
the
the
monies are
right,
coming from is on the left, correct?
correct, so there are 3 sources of the funds. $145,775 would come from the line item of salary reserve. And the other 2 costs, which are related to the enterprise funds, will respectively come from the water extraordinary unforeseen fund and the sewer extraordinary unforeseen funds, both related to salaries.
All right, so then you need a motion and a second to approve the line item transfers that are allowed by law at the end of the year from the appropriate funds. We would be moving monies from line 100-5600 salary reserve, 6500-5900 water extraordinary unforeseen, 6600 to 5900 sewer extraordinary unforeseen. I'm not gonna read them all, but there's various line items and they total $157,025. Can I have a motion to that effect?
And then set forth the letter dated July 1st.
Yep. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, 4 in favor. Nicole, you can have mine, how's this?
No, I
No.
actually have one that the finance committee.
She has the finance.
Oh, you
the
have the one
original.
that's already signed? Oh,
Yes.
okay, I'm just gonna write our vote then. Okay. All right,
Thank you.
thank you. All right, now we have a document that is authorized town manager to act on behalf of the town and the select board for water drinking water asset management plan project.
So, Madam Chair, you may recall, and Board, you may recall that at town meeting, they approved funding for the town to participate in a grant from the Clean Water Fund. This is evidence back to DEP and the Clean Water Fund that the board authorizes the town manager to file the grant and to sign related documents.
Can I have a motion to that effect?
Move to approve.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
This is the one that you need the article for me to type up tomorrow?
Same
One of
purpose,
them?
correct.
And then we have a request to schedule a public hearing for Tractor Supply for new storage of flammables and combustible liquid, flammable gases and solid license. Our public hearing date tentatively we can schedule for July 15th at 7 PM, if that's okay. Can I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to go ahead and schedule the public hearing for Tractor Supply for flammable gases, liquids, and solids.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And last but not least, the best, the town manager report.
Before starting that, on an upcoming agenda, the board had scheduled a full hearing for National Grid. The applicants have withdrawn, so that hearing won't be necessary. We were notified by National Grid that they don't need to have that hearing, so.
Did that go in the paper, Nicole, already? So we actually should make them pay at least for the legal advertising, because they rescind it after, because that's what they generally do, right? But the abutters notices did not go out.
We did, but those are also paid by the applicant.
Right, but the notices had already gone out?
Yes.
So now we have to notify the residents, or should we just somehow put a notice on the website?
We can put it on the website and,
We could put it on the agenda, or maybe we could just, we could put it on the agenda and then write canceled next to it.
Okay, Okay,
Perfect.
all right, sorry, Stuart.
No. You can't see it from where you're sitting.
I can't
but-
see anything right now.
But
My
hopefully
eyes are
Stanley
blurry.
can pick it up. I do want to highlight the ADA anniversary celebration on July 26th at the Senior Center. Everyone is welcome. There'll be vendors, displays, speakers, and cake, refreshments. So I do hope people will turn out. It was a very good event last year. So invite people to attend, and we will get that word out as well.
And just, if you might, you remember about the flags, can you just mention, because we're hoping that people get those.
Oh, certainly. So the ADA Commission has made 2 investments. One, flags for wheelchairs to be more visible upon sidewalks and crosswalks. Huge thing to reduce accidents. They are also purchasing signs to help direct people to parking for people with disabilities during town events. So they're putting their money to
And
good
the
use.
reason I asked Stuart to mention that is because there are so many people that utilize those special little wheelchairs or whatever. In fact, I saw someone going across West Main Street diagonally today who almost got hit, and I think you know who I'm talking about. So I wanted him to mention it if we get the word out there, because we're hoping those individuals might actually come to the senior center the day of the event, because I think we're gonna have the fire
deal.
personnel there to help fix these to the wheelchairs. We're not just gonna hand them a box.
Yeah, awesome.
Thank you, Stuart.
Thank you. Couple of personnel changes through the HR department. The police chief and HR have hired the assistant that was approved by town meeting, Mandy Burns. She will start on Monday, and also starting on Monday is the new facilities manager, Michael Hewitt. So very glad to have them both on board and to be starting. I put in the packet just an example of the grant coordinator's work, Jay Mooney. This one is for Safe Streets for All application, which was a $2.5 million application for $3 million of service on road improvements throughout town. And just wanted to just show you that he is very prolific, and this is just one example of many of what he's putting out as grant applications for a variety. Today, he submitted, last night he submitted the next park grant, which is for improvements to park systems that will be for road improvements at Grenville Park. So,
The amount of information that was in there was phenomenal.
Yeah,
It was very, very
well,
good.
I just, give me the flannel note, but I just want to raise some flags on this, on these grant applications. I think it's very important that we start looking at how many of these grant people are funded, state funded and federally funded. And when you start looking at that program, we should start taking a very close look at this, because I'm really concerned about how many people we have working in the town that are in fact funded by state and federal monies. This could be a big problem, a big
yes,
concern.
yes.
Maybe
And
we start looking at that.
it will change how the town starts looking for funding as look more beyond just state and federal funds, but also at private foundations as a way to support our programs.
Right.
This particular piece of information, though, is a project. It's not, I understand where you're coming from as far as
Yeah,
employees.
no, I mean,
but,
as
yeah.
a matter of fact, there's a very good,
Yeah.
in the town report, all the work that has been done by the planning department and all the grants that they applied for. And we also have an update that he's put together, giving the status of these. It's hard to read. I'm reviewing it now, and we'll get that together.
Right. One other particular important aspect of this grant, and Jay put a lot of work into, is the state has established a program to provide matches for grants that require matches. So again, it's a federal grant, but the state is providing the match, which is approximately $600,000. So that's money that doesn't have to be raised at town meeting should we get the grant, that the state has committed to providing that match, so just great work.
That's good to know.
Very exciting news at the wastewater treatment plant in, that the, yes, sir.
You have the flushing program?
Yep, I just included it in your packet for numbers.
Yeah, well,
These are the amount of gallons.
Matter of fact, I went through that and calculated how much it would have cost the town if we actually billed for the amount of water that was, and that would be about $40,000. And then I added administrative and technical costs, maybe $5,000. So I estimate flushing cost the town about $45,000 if we were billing something. Okay, and how often do we do this?
Twice a year.
Now, the point that I'm also making is that what we need to do, and it's important that we do this, is to replace the old cast iron pipes. That's the source of the red water. And as these pipes get replaced, then the idea of frequency of flushing will certainly decrease, and that will be a good savings for the town.
You still should always flush, even if you have new pipes, it's not a matter.
Well, it'll take a very long time
Yeah,
or a very
I
high
will
expense to
realize.
replace all the pipes. So that actually leads me to another topic which isn't on your list. The town has town meeting approval to move forward with an asset management plan for both the wastewater system and the water system, and that will set priorities for the town's spending on its infrastructure programs going forward. And those reports, one will be done in 6 months and one should be done in 12 months.
That's the one that Ty and Bond's working on?
Both of it, yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Wastewater treatment plant screen is finally going to arrive, and installation will begin in August with completion in late November. This is the primary expense of the town's ARPA funds, the $1.3 million projects that will remove solids from the stream and save just a lot of work for the staff.
Speaking of ARPA, what kind of monies do we have left in? Because I thought we had it accounted for everything.
We have
Oh, I thought
accounted
there
for
was a
everything.
small- We did?
Yep.
I thought we had a small
We had a
portion
small
left over.
balance, I thought.
No, if we did, it's gone, because we had to commit
Who
everything.
took it?
No, the federal government would have taken
I
it
know.
if we, so we had to commit by March 31st.
Okay, and I
No,
knew
by
we did.
December 31st, we had to commit every penny.
Right,
Within what we committed it for, there can be flexibility, so if there's,
okay.
and I expect there'll be $100,000 left over on this project at the wastewater treatment plant, it can go into,
The 250th committee.
No.
yes, it could, yeah, great, that's a good example, there you go.
What do you mean, no, that's the best committee.
I'm sorry, I'm on the same
Yes.
committee.
I want Frank and
But
Pete to
We just had a
fireworks.
group of individuals
Yeah.
that were present that have a need. Anyway, go ahead.
Very good. Town hall staff are more than aware, due to the noise today, that the repair of the fire escape from the upper hall down to this side has begun. It had some emergency repairs needed, and then will get finalized and painted after that. So that should all take, after today, it'll all take place next week. And that will lead to some other repairs to the steps to make for a safe egress once you get off of the landings. But an important project.
And the next item, I think we've had enough discussion
Yep.
on tonight.
I do want to talk briefly about Republic, the
Oh,
waste
thank you, yes.
situation. So just, and we posted on Facebook just to have some clarity. Mr. McNamara, who's the head of McNamara Waste, stopped in today. They've been cleaning up Republic's
Took mine.
mess that they left behind, or haven't picked up, that's better, haven't picked up for the past few weeks.
Month.
McNamara has been going around town very graciously cleaning up. They are going to take over the curbside route, the household trash, from Republic going forward. Residents don't have to do anything yet. They will be contacted by, the Republic customers will be contacted by McNamara, and they will continue to pick up on a regular
Actually,
schedule.
Stuart, I could just tell you, because we are a customer, they actually stopped at the house and left a card, so I'm assuming
Yeah.
they're doing that with
That,
everybody.
they will be
That
doing that.
happened was too, and after they put their label on the
Yep.
trash can.
Yep.
Anyway,
So,
but The
And-
Board of Health, I think, is still moving forward with their hearing on the 16th of July, as my
Right.
understanding.
And I expect Republic will attend that.
Anyway,
Thank you.
anything else?
No, thank you.
Jack?
Yeah, this is, one thing that I've been watching for, I guess since spring started, and that's, the use of, or misuse of electric bikes. And there's some, and I can't say it's just kids, there's adults, and, they are just careening down sidewalks.
Me and you both talked to the chief about this.
Yes.
Because I brought it up last meeting. Yeah, me and you were on the page on this one. 'cause,
Yeah.
My gosh.
So, I'm not sure what we can do, but, you know, it sort of scares me when I'm out there. I was just sort of watching
Well, there's
what
a
was
lot of people
happening.
walking,
Yeah, and you got
too.
some elderly, or it doesn't have to be elderly, but you got some elderly people, you know, walking out. You got some guys coming out, or people coming out of the liquor store and scratching off their tickets and not paying attention. And somebody is just barreling down, and they can't stop in time. So I'm not really sure what to do about that.
So, we can continue as the police chief, but you had previously asked, for the legislators to attend a meeting. They finished the budget today, so perhaps in August or early September they could attend. I think that's a great question for them, is there legislation coming that can, across the state, address the issue?
Yeah.
Well, because I think the next thing I see here is because of all the dirt bikes and all the ATVs, sooner or later, out on the country roads, because I know that I've seen them on our country road, people on ATVs going up and down the street, and someone is going to get killed,
Yes.
cause a severe accident, so, yeah, I think we need to see that addressed, because it's out of control. I mean, I know Springfield dealt with it on their city streets.
Oh my God.
But
Still do.
it's starting to happen here, more so out in the country, but it could start happening, so
Mhm.
I think that's a great question. So, but I think the other thing is if the board members have questions, the legislators should know ahead of time, because it's much easier if they're prepared
They can
and
get
they can
upset.
do a response. So if you have questions, just direct them to me and I'll make sure that they get.
Okay,
the
so
questions.
you
Yeah,
get in
just
touch with
email-
Peter and
email
Todd
me.
and
Yep.
Donnie?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, all right.
I think we need to address that, yeah.
Anyway, thank you to our one guest who's still here.
Yeah, hang in there, very good.
Anyway, if there's nothing else, can I have a motion at, I don't know,
I'll make a motion for 8:47 to adjourn.
can I have a second?
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Happy Fourth, everybody. Enjoy safely, peacefully.
Yeah.
No fireworks unless you are allowed.